This is the Film Geeks podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to a brand new, exhilarating, breathtaking, and spellbinding edition of the Film Geeks podcast powered by Indian Nerve. This is Abhishek, and joining me, as always, are Arindam and Anir. This promises to be a very loaded edition of the Film Geeks podcast because we are not discussing just one film. We are planning to review two films. We'll just see how this goes. This is an experiment. We have never done this before. So let's just hope it turns out well. But before we go on and discuss about the couple of films that we have watched over the weekend that were Ghost in the Shell and Nacho Vigalando's Colossal, before we move on, I just want to confess, guys, I am completely spent. I've had the longest possible week. It's not been a very fun time for me. I've been recording. We recorded a new podcast, which is up on www.indiannerve.com/podcasts. So you guys can check that out. So we recorded the WrestleMania podcast. So that's finally online. And that's been a very rough week for me. I mean, I'm completely sleep deprived. I'm very tired. But that's all about me. What about you guys?
I have had a very relaxed week. No problems at all.
Just to put some salt into those wounds, I think even I had a relatively easier week than you, Abhishek. I was not doing any of those things that you were doing. I was not part of this podcast. I think Arindam was, if I'm not mistaken.
No, not even me. Even I wasn't.
All right. So there you go. Only Abhishek was involved in all of this, and both of us had a chill weekend.
Because I started watching all of this stuff from Saturday. And I watched on Saturday, I watched the entire Sunday, then Monday, again I had to wake up really early in the morning. Then we recorded this podcast sometime after, on Wednesday. And we've been editing the entire, whatever we recorded since then. So it's been extremely tiring. And, by last night, I was like, I just couldn't do it anymore. So finally, I somehow finished the editing the final version of the podcast, and that's what you're going to be listening to. So moving on, that was my week from hell. Are you guys watching 13 Reasons Why? It's on Netflix.
I haven't.
No, it's like you were the first person who told me about this, because I never heard of this show, or anywhere in the internet for that matter, because I follow sites like IO9 and AV Club. And even they didn't seem to mention it.
Even I haven't seen any mention of anything. And my office, I think, is more muted when it comes to such things. I think they're a bunch of guys more on the bandwagon side. So they'll watch stuff if other people are watching it. I don't think they watch stuff just for the sake of it. So in my office, there has been not a peep of this show. So you'll have to let me know what the show is about for me to be interested, actually.
I would have spoken about this show in off the track, but considering that the times that we're in, it's kind of important that we deal with topics of bullying, especially cyberbullying or even bullying, physical bullying. We should address these issues head on, and this is what this show deals with basically. It talks about this girl, the main character, who is bullied, and she's bullied to such an extent that she actually kills herself. That's how the show opens, and she records the reasons. She has 13 reasons as to why she killed herself, and she records them in tapes, which are divided into 13 episodes. The way the show is structured, it's a perfect model because number one, it's on Netflix, and it's something which you would love to binge on because the story moves along really, really fast. Right at the end, there are some story points. I will not give you any spoilers, by the way, if you're planning to watch this. There are a few parts which may take you out of the show for a bit. There are things which draw you back into the show again. It has a very important message, and also the acting is stellar. The kid from Goosebumps, Dylan Minnette, he stars in the show. He is the lead character in the show, and I think for the times that we live in, I think it's highly recommended that you guys check this show out. It's very graphic. It really gives you to you in your face. And for someone who was bullied in school, it really hit home for me. There were parts which I could completely relate to, and obviously some parts because of the generational gap, etc. It deals with kids who are in school right now. So this is something which I can't relate with, but there are some things never really change, and those parts really hit home. So I highly recommend that, especially the both of you guys do check out this show. It's on Netflix.
I remember someone posted about it on Facebook, and they said they leave tapes, and I made fun. I said that do all the starts taped with "I want to play a game." That's what it sounded like.
At least it sounds very different from what I was expecting it to be. So I think it makes sense to catch up on the show because it's readily there on Netflix.
The fact that it is young adult, okay, and we have come to expect bullshit from young adult, especially after the disaster that was Twilight. It has ruined an entire genre, especially for people like you and I, and most of our listeners out there. We just can't take this genre seriously anymore because there are several tropes which this genre just keeps on harping on and on and on till the cows come home. But this show actually rises above all of that. So that being considered, I think this is a very good watch, and you guys at least I don't think for the first part of it at least you guys will be disappointed. And speaking about disappointments, let's speak about the DC universe. Buffy the Vampire Slayer creator Joss Whedon is set to start work on a Batgirl solo film, according to Variety, who actually released this news sometime last week. Whedon is on board at Warner Brothers to write, produce, and direct the movie, which will be set in the DC Extended Universe. At this present moment, there is no other details that we know. We don't really know which version of Batgirl will be the focal point of this new film. This is actually huge news because as any movie goer worth his salt would know that Joss Whedon was instrumental in making the MCU what it is right now. His last film, of course, was kind of disappointing for me. I personally did not like it, but if you believe the rumors, even he didn't like Avengers Age of Ultron. What are your thoughts on this? Do you really think that DCEU could finally have some semblance of credibility now?
If there's one person who can bring it back on track, it's Joss Whedon. I think there's a silent coup that has taken place. Even though I don't like the fact that Batman is the catalyst for it, or the Bat family rather is the catalyst for it. But if it results in better movies, then I'm all for it. And Joss Whedon is perfect to make women-centric movies. I think he has done so brilliantly in the past. We shouldn't have any other reason to think otherwise.
I think Joss Whedon has done some fantastic work over the years, which is why I think we always assume that he'll do a fantastic job with this. I mean, look at his work over the years. He has done Buffy, he has done Angel, and one of my favorite TV series of all times, he has done Firefly, which I can't find any fault with. This is something that he's probably going to do well. Now, I also heard the news, the rumors that they're supposedly trying to release 4 Bat family related movies in 2019. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but Joss Whedon is supposedly doing the one with Batgirl in it. I don't think they have released any other details about any of the other movies that are going to be released, apart from obviously the one that will have Ben Affleck in it. Let's see how it pans out, but Joss Whedon being there actually is very encouraging, at least for DCU universe. But then again, I'm afraid they'll try to pull in some blockbuster director for the other movies, which again will result in the same shit that is happening right now. And I think this is something that both of you will agree with me on, that DC and Warner Brothers actually do screw it up big time when it comes to selecting the directors. And I'm really hoping that Joss Whedon being there and hopefully producing a very successful movie will actually become sort of a game changer for DC.
The new Batman film, which is in fact planned, was supposed to come out in 2018, and since Ben Affleck has dropped out, Matt Reeves is helming that film. Another film which is being slated for 2019 release is Gotham City Sirens, directed by David Ayer, and it'll star Margot Robbie. So basically, that's what they're going for. They are keeping Gotham City as the central focal point for the DCEU, which can work. If it does, it will have a really good payoff. But if it doesn't, we all know how Suicide Squad went.
The other movie that is coming out and confirmed is Nightwing by Lego Batman movie director Chris McKay, and it's written by the guy who also wrote The Accountant for Ben Affleck. And the Gotham City Sirens, I don't have much hope for it. It's Harley Quinn centric, and it will also have David Ayer. The only movie that I'm really excited about is that Matthew Vaughn is being courted to helm Man of Steel Part 2.
Let's have some fan casting. I always love these. If it was left up to you, who would you cast as Batgirl? Let's start with you, Arindam.
For me, it would have to be Anna Kendrick. I think if they do decide to adapt Batgirl of Burnside, that's the Batgirl from the New 52 verse. I think she's the perfect candidate for that. And I think if you need someone to tone down all the heavy-handedness that we have been offered by DCU, the darkness, I think Joss Whedon plus Anna Kendrick is a perfect mix.
I can see where you're coming from. You know, she has a tends to add a certain bit of comedic element to the whole thing, which actually is perfect if you're imagining a more, a sarcastic bad girl. But for me, I think what I finally decided on was, I think I would like to see Imogen Poots. I know she is Brit, and but I think she can hide that accent pretty well, and I think she's tall enough. And for me, Batgirl has always been blonde, so I was always imagined Batgirl being blonde. So I think Imogen Poots is the right choice. But then again, knowing Joss Whedon, he might probably go with Summer Glau.
Right, she was always the option. But I guess she would be a good option if it was maybe 5 or 10 years ago. But now I'm not very sure.
She still looks very young. I was pretty surprised to see her. I know in Firefly she was a young girl, right? And she was fantastic in that.
Right.
And she fit that role. She showed that she could do all those action scenes, and they were pretty terrific. But she still looks pretty young right now. I mean, so do you guys have any idea about which timeline they're going to follow in this Batgirl movie?
We have no idea. I don't think even they've released anything. And if the thing is actually true that they are forming 4 movies from Gotham, so you can have the entire Bat Avengers sort of at the end of Batman, which will probably release sometime in November. No one wants that to happen.
I'll give you a few names which have been of the DC movie universe thus far, okay? Say what you will about their films, about the quality of the films, they always get great actors. Michael Caine, Liam Neeson, Morgan Freeman, Jeremy Irons, Ben Affleck. They're some of the best actors working currently. So what they need, in my opinion, is the best young actress of our time, and that is Emma Stone. She is an Oscar winner. She's one of the best actresses working currently. She can do comedy, as we've seen. She started off a career as a comedic actress. She can do drama, as we saw in La La Land and Birdman. And with a little bit of training and a little bit of camera trickery, which we've come to expect from people like Joss Whedon, I'm pretty sure she can do action as well. She will bring the desired gravitas to the role. She will bring the desired comedic element to the role. And I think she ticks all the boxes, and she would fit the role to a T. And she also is a little bit on the younger side, so she would fit into the entire universe perfectly as well. So I really hope that Emma Stone is cast in this role. I'm pretty sure that both of you have excellent fan casts as well, but I think my one is slightly better than both of you. Moving on, let's speak about let's get down to the main event of the evening. And first of the first 2 reviews that we're going to talk about is, let's start with Ghost in the Shell. Arindam and Anir went on to watch it yesterday. Ghost in the Shell is directed by Rupert Sanders and written by Jamie Moss and William Wheeler and Aaron Kruger. It's based on a Japanese manga of the same name by Masamune Shirao, and there was an amazing anime which came out in the mid-90s, which at least Anir and I are huge fans of. The film stars Scarlett Johansson, Takeshi Kitano, Michael Pitt, Helio Asbeck, Shin Han, and Juliette Binoche. And currently it's on 42% on Rotten Tomatoes. So let's have it. What did you guys think about the film? Let's start with you, Anir.
I don't think it deserves that bad a rating. I mean, honestly, I think it's the same thing that we saw with Ghostbusters. Although Ghostbusters did deserve it to a certain extent because it was a horrible movie. But it started receiving, backlash and negative ratings even before the movie came out, which is slightly unfair. I think that's the same thing we are seeing with Ghost in the Shell. When I started watching the movie, I tried to see if there was something, which would make me despise the movie. I don't think there is. I think it has its elements very right. I know there is a lot of hue and cry over the whitewashing of the characters that is there. But if you actually know the TV series, the anime, and you have seen it, then you'll realize one very certain element. It is that even in the anime itself, she actually looks white. It's just that she's speaking Japanese because it was made for a Japanese audience. So people are like, oh, it was played by a Japanese character. It's not supposed to be played by a Japanese character. If you watch the anime carefully, you'll understand that Bitu, Bato or Major is both of them are actually being portrayed as white characters in the anime. So it makes perfect sense that these characters are white. The body suit itself and everything, as I was excited for that thing. I don't think it detracts from anything. The cinematography is brilliant. I know there's certain elements which makes you think like, why are they investing that much time in all these stupid areas which they should not be, more specifically around trying to show Scarlett Johansson's character, trying to explore her more human side. But then again, these are not really bad things if you consider them overall. I really like the way it was picturized. I like the action scenes. They were not fantastic, but again, they were not bad at all. I think it was a movie which I would give a better rating than what it is currently there on IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes.
For me, at least, whether you like the movie or you hate the movie, you have to admit that this was a beautiful looking movie. Every shot was framed so well, it was lit so well. I did not expect dystopia to be shown this well. Like in anime, all the stuff looks appealing, right? But they brought out the horror over here, I felt. Like, remember all these, the enhancements, the cyborg enhancement that they get, they look so appealing in the anime. But over here, you can actually see like how freaking terrible they would be to have on you. I really liked what they did, and these guys, they were so, they wanted to emulate so much of the anime itself it showed, and I really like that they went the extra mile into doing all that, because they knew they couldn't do most of it in PG, but I thought they did a very good job trying to pull these off in a PG-13 environment. Like you said, 42% is nowhere where this movie should rest. I think it should be in the 60s or 70s at least. It wasn't a bad adaptation at all. When the first reviews came out, I thought it would be Dragon Ball Evolution level, but it was nothing like that. I really liked Major's character as well. I thought they would rely heavily on the action set pieces, but these tend to focus more on the duality of existence, which they did a bang up job in the anime as well. And I agree, the third act, like I said, there was a lot of fan service out there, especially like the spider bot which was there in the third act. From what they showed us, I really liked how they adapted it, and I don't have much complaints regarding the animation, rather than the fact that it could have been better written in the third half especially. And when the big reveal comes in the end, it's a big fuck you in the face of people who said that, you should have cast an anime character. Because I thought that was a very bold choice for them to pull off. And there are two ways you can see that. That can either be literal whitewashing, or it can be the fact that corporations take these indigenous people and they whitewash the shit out of them. So I think it was the latter, but it's getting complaints of the former that it was literal whitewashing. So I don't know. What's your take on that, Anir?
Yeah, that reveal itself is something that obviously we are not going to spoil right now, but it's I think I'll actually like to think that it's the literal kind. I think what you said about the latter being true is sort of bang on. I never felt for the moment, right? It was cultural misappropriation of sorts. I don't think it was. I think it's very apparent that they knew what they were doing, what Rupert Sanders and his team had in mind. Actually, I know where certain individuals might think that this is actually not the direction that they should have taken. But then again, this is a small point. It completely detracts from what you should actually take away from the movie, which is not about race and all. I mean, look at it this way. Okay, the team itself that is built around the Major, right? You have Beat Takeshi, who is one of my absolute favorite actors. And if you see him, he's actually speaking in Japanese. They never bothered to actually give him any lines in English. They are not giving him in lines which he is going to speak in a totally different accent. He's not. He's speaking in his natural language. And then you had a Chinese in that room. You had black guys in that room. You had Juliette Binoche in that room. I mean, it's you. How can you call it cultural misappropriation just because you're attaching this role to a Japanese movie, right?
Right, there was so much diversity in that. That was like the first thing that I noticed. Also, I'm not sure about Major because I think Major might have been Japanese. I'm not very sure about that. But Bato, for sure, he was not at all Asian. I think the guy who played it, he's Euron Greyjoy from Game of Thrones. I did not expect someone from like him to be cast in that role, and he was really good over there.
Yes,
So,
I actually agree with you on that one. I think he did a fantastic job. It fit the roles perfectly. About he even in the anime, it always seems like he's pining for the girl, you know. And even this, I
Right.
think that thing actually comes out very naturally, and I think that much is very nice to watch.
I thought the CGI was also really well done. There was a good mix of practical and CG that they were doing. I think they relied a bit much on CGI, but it worked well for the movie. And in bringing out all that, the alleys and all, and they had those Blade Runner ads, running around the city. That was pretty cool.
Correct,
And I'm
correct.
pretty sure Denis Villeneuve will do a better job at doing. Maybe next year it's coming out, right? Blade Runner, or is it sometime later this year?
It's later this year.
Okay. So I think that'll be much better shown, let me show you how to do it sort of thing that'll go on over there.
I think we should cut this director a little bit of slack. You know why? Because his first film was Snowman and the Huntsman.
Snow
what was
White.
that? Snow White and the Huntsman. So I think we should cut him a little slack. It's fucking Rupert Sanders. The guy, first movie was complete chutiapa, and this movie chutiapa for completely different reasons. And I think we should address this. I think Hollywood and our society as a general should move away from this SJW bullshit, this social justice warrior nonsense, which you see all over social media. If a movie is good, if the characters are being done right, if the story is good, if the direction is, if a film is well made or any media is well made and it's an adaptation, I don't think cultural misappropriation or whitewashing or any of these terms should be used. Because if it's good, it's good. It doesn't. If you cast an Asian person, if you if you cast any Asian person in that role, and if she was not as good as Scarlett Johansson was in this film, would that not have taken away from this film? Yeah, that's the point, right? You can't. When Batman came out all these years ago, no one raised a huge hue and cry that instead of an Egyptian guy, what Ra's al Ghul technically is, I think he's Middle Eastern, but an Irishman was cast. It's all a result of this social justice warrior bullshit. It's a sign of the times. Everyone is outraged for absolutely no reason. Grow up here, accept things for what they are. If it's bad, it's bad. If it's good, it's good.
Right,
Amen.
but it's also slippery slope because you can't cast someone like John Wayne as Genghis Khan in today's world, right? That would be insane. So I think if you're adapting it for the modern world, see, the main thing is that you should see the entire thing for itself and then outrage. If they did not show that last part over there, I guess the outrage was well and done. But if they change the name and they make it Caucasian, I don't think there's any reason for all the outrage. And I think the outrage culture is something that we should move away from. Definitely, it's hurting entertainment the most, I'd say.
Yeah, look at the scene in India. There is no freedom of speech when it comes to entertainment or any public forum at all. We really don't want to get into politics in this podcast, and we will not. So there's a movie coming out a little bit later on in the year, and it's called Begum Jan, right? This movie is an adaptation of a Bengali film, and this speaks about how, the courtesans, for the lack of a better word, or the prostitutes, how the partition affected them. I haven't really watched the Bengali film, but apparently there were a lot of strong coarse language which was there, and that is how that segment of society speaks. That there's nothing wrong in that. It's just how they speak, right? Any filmmaker worth his salt is making a film. We would want to make a very authentic version of whatever events happened, fictional or otherwise. So it has to be set in the times. You cannot expect them to speak in a very classy way or in a way that fits into your predetermined mold of what classy is. If a filmmaker wants to make a film in a certain way, he should have the freedom to, to do that. I don't think the censor board, at least in our country, the censor board should dictate what is good and what is bad. Let people decide for themselves. And that is where the outrage nonsense starts from. In India, it's completely different from what's happening in the West. In here, people actually tell you what to outrage about. And, at most of the times, it's just completely unfounded. Like, they just outrage over absolutely bullshit things. Like, look at All India Bakchur. These guys, get into trouble on a weekly basis for shit which is not even their fault.
Sometimes I think that India is more screwed up than other countries in terms of at least how the censor board works. Is that they're actually focusing on the wrong things. I mean, I understand why it needs to be there, boards like this, because we still have kids who are picking up things that are very adult and very mature at a very young age. Probably that doesn't help the society as a whole. But at the same time, you got to understand that this is something that they're going to pick up from somewhere else, if not from movies. Or movies obviously do have a big influence on it. But why not focus your things on things that actually make sense instead of like the recent example that we saw, Ghost Ride adaptation in Hindi, which was called, I think, Filori. So apparently the censor board really did their work on this one, and one of the examples was the Hanuman Chalisa thing. Hanuman Chalisa thing. Yeah. So this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have officially entered conspiracy zone. Please continue.
This is not a conspiracy zone. I mean, this is actually true, right?
Actually, a fact.
This is a fact. I mean, you might want it to be a conspiracy because you're like, this shit can't be true. But trust me on this one. This actually happened. That they use a Hanuman Chalisa, which for people who don't know out there, Hindus, when they're scared of ghosts, they recite the Hanuman Chalisa because it helps them ward off ghosts. It's like the Catholic equivalent of a cross. In this movie, there is a scene where this guy, because he's confronted by a ghost, he starts reciting the Hanuman Chalisa, and the ghost obviously doesn't disappear because that's the whole story plot line apparently. But just because the ghost did not disappear, so the censor board decided that that scene should not be there, because how can it be there if Hanuman Chalisa बोलने से भूत नहीं गया? So it's not something that should be there. Just think about it, man. Seriously, just because the ghost did not disappear, so you decided that yes, the ghost is not the part that worries me. It's that the Hanuman Chalisa did not work, and it will have an adverse effect on our children, and they'll start assuming that Hanuman Chalisa doesn't work on ghosts. So, हटाओ.
Please keep your sanskar in check.
हटाओ इस हनुमान चालीसा को इधर से. My God, I mean, this is really entering stupid territory, and this is just an example, right? This is an example. You just have to do a simple search, and I don't know why this is happening right now at this point. I mean, we can all point at reasons why it's happening, but then again, I really don't know whether it's because of a personal reason or due to political agenda why this is happening. I'm not going to speculate on any of that. Yeah, yeah, but
the power of Nihalani compels you.
But I'm sure that this is hurting our movies in a big way. And it's not just our movies. I mean, even movies that are being shown and are not really indigenous. I'm talking about Hollywood movies. They're being cut to such an extent that half the time when I'm going to watch a movie, I'm really apprehensive about what I'm going to watch. Is it the version that the director wanted me to watch, or something the censor board wants me to watch, which are two very different things in most of the cases, because you don't know what the final product is going to be like every time you enter a theater. And this pisses me off to no ends, because now you understand why the whole world is moving towards your most streaming platforms. There's no comparison. When you watch a movie in a theater, you obviously like it more. But then again, because you're not really watching the final product in most of the cases, it becomes really a big debate over whether you should do it in the first place or not, whether you really need censor boards. I think more than that, what we need is enforcement of the ratings that are there that are provided for each movie. If it is a R-rated movie, please do not let kids in. And if it is a movie that will hurt sensibilities, please do not let stupid idiots in. This is something of that sort.
So moving on from the screw-ups of our Sanskari censor board, let's speak about screw-ups of a complete different nature. And this is not a screw-up, so as to say, but then again, one woman's life gets gets completely changed after the happenings of a certain kind. This obviously will be a spoiler-free review. And the next movie which we're going to review is Colossal, and I was the only one who watched it. Colossal was directed and written by one of the better directors currently working. That's Nacho Vigalondo. I'm a huge fan of his film Time Crimes. And the film stars Anne Hathaway, Jason Sudeikis, Dan Stevens, Austin Stowell, and Tim Blake Nelson. In fact, film was released last year and had its world premiere in the 2016 Toronto International Film Festival. The premise of the film is very simple. After losing a job and her boyfriend in New York, Gloria, that's the character Anne Hathaway plays, moves back to her hometown, only to discover that how strangely connected she is with an enormous giant monster attacking Seoul, South Korea. So it starts off in a very hipstery love story kind of a way. But as the story goes on, it's more of a character study as to what effects alcoholism and addiction can have on you. So this movie, like I said, Nacho Vigalondo, this guy has an amazing vision. I mean, there are parts of the movie which are extremely weird, and I cannot really go on and talk about the minute plot details of this film, but the character development which Jason Sudeikis' character has in this film is something which I have not seen Jason Sudeikis do in his entire career. This is his best work, and I'm not a fan of Jason Sudeikis. I've never liked him in anything except for his small skits on SNL. But I thought he was just phenomenal in this role as Oscar, the the childhood friend of Anne Hathaway. Dan Stevens, of course, makes a very short but funny cameo. He is excellent in this film as well, but the star of the film obviously has to be Jason Sudeikis. Tim Blake Nelson's character is also fantastic. For whatever time he is there, he plays a drunk who is a friend of Jason Sudeikis' character. The character development in this film is phenomenal, just for that alone and for nothing else. And the shot selection is something which you guys should definitely check out. I cannot stress upon this enough. I always make it a point to bring this up whenever we have our discussions on film. This is an original movie. This is not an adaptation of anything. So this is the only reason why you should go out of your way to check this movie out in theaters. There are not a lot of cuts in this film. There's just one swear word which is cut out in the last scene. But whatever comes earlier, all of the swear words is all in there. It's completely uncut. You guys should definitely check it out. It's a very good time in the films. That's about it. I tried to keep it as spoiler-free as I could. I just gave away the basic plot, and I cannot talk about it more because I don't want to spoil it for you, because there are plot points which hamper the review if I go into details for that. So I'm sorry about this this very vague review, but you guys owe it to yourselves to go and check this movie out. So if I have to rate this film, I would give it a solid A. It's a really good time at the films. One thing which I would tell all the listeners out there, like Split, you have to suspend your disbelief for some parts of the movie, because it obviously deals with a kaiju who is connected to a girl across the world. So for that, you need to suspend your disbelief. Once you do that, the payoff is tremendous. The last part of the film, the final third, in fact, the last scene of the film is beautiful. You guys should definitely check that out. It's out of theaters. I don't really know for how long, because next week, obviously, the big bad, greatest franchise of all time, Fast and the Furious, hits the theaters. So if you're listening to this, you guys have till Thursday, or probably if you're lucky, till Friday to check this movie out on theaters. So that does it for this edition of the Film Geeks podcast. But before we log out and say goodbye to all you wonderful listeners out there, let's get on with the last segment of the show. We call this Off the Track. And here on this part of the show, we talk about things that we're reading, things what we're going to read, things that we're watching, and things that we're going to watch. So let's start with you, Anirban. What have you been reading or watching?
I've been reading 100 Bullets again because I just love this series that came out. I don't know when it came out, honestly, but 100 Bullets is something that should have probably been made into a TV series. Probably would have worked better as a TV series. But I'm always surprised why it was never adapted. And this is something I've heard a lot, that people did try to adapt it, but somehow it never materialize. It's been written by Brian Azzarello, and it follows the syndicate, which actually it starts off very innocuously as this one guy, Agent Graves, who hands really separate characters a briefcase which has a gun and bullets that when the police traces them, it just stops its investigation. So you have the freedom to sort of pursue your vengeance if you want to. So it seems very random at first, but as the story continues, it's shown that it's not really random. It's a big thing that actually connects all together, and it's something that you should read if you like, stuff that includes secret agencies, and not really agencies. How do I define it? Secret organization.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, correct. That's a good way to look at it. Assassin's Creed, and it sort of ties in all together and ends brilliantly, if I may say so. It's got one of the best endings that I've ever read in a comic book series. Now, I know that line itself will bring a lot of debate, but I absolutely love 100 Bullets.
For me, I've been reading Red Hulk by Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness. If you see these two guys' name on one comic book, you know that it's going to be mindless fun. It doesn't stop at all. Like right from the first issue to the last, it just keeps on rolling. They did the same with Batman, Superman, and they're back with Red Hulk as well. Red Hulk it's sort of a whodunit, basically. Rather than that, who is it? So it starts off with Hulk, who is red in color, and nobody seems to know who it is. And it has almost everyone in the Marvel universe facing off, and nobody seems to know who this character is. It's a lot of fun, and speaking anything about the plot would be giving away a lot. So I will just link the Amazon link. So do check it out. It's something that you must read.
Yeah, it's almost like a thunderbolt, the Red Hulk. I absolutely love Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness and whatever they do. And coming back to Brian Azzarello, I kind of never got into 100 Bullets, probably because it's Brian Azzarello. I'm not a huge fan of his work. Probably has to do because I got into some of his, licensed stuff which he did for Batman. Like he was part of Batman Gotham Knights, which I'm not a fan of, and he was also part of Night of Vengeance, the Flashpoint edition of Batman, which I thought was garbage. But I'm pretty sure 100 Bullets is something which is spoken in reverence in comic book world. So I would definitely check that out probably sometime later on this year. I have personally been reading the Grant Morrison's run of Justice League of America. This is an insane book. If you are wondering where to get into Justice League before the movie comes out, especially, this is where you need to start. Justice League by Grant Morrison is the be-all, end-all run of these superheroes you know and love. It's tremendous. I will not give away the plot points. It is something which you should need to experience. As Arindam said, we will link it in the description below. So that being said, that brings us to the end of this edition of the Film Geeks podcast. Thank you again for your support, and thank you for listening. You guys can check out, as we mentioned earlier, the WrestleMania podcast. Visit us at www.indiannerve.com/podcast. And you can find us on YouTube as well. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss any of our updates. On YouTube at youtube.com/indiannerve, on Facebook at facebook.com/indiannerve, on Twitter at twitter.com/indiannerve, on Instagram at instagram.com/indiannerve. And like I said, visit our website as well if you want to check out our previous episodes. I'd like to thank all you listeners for your time. We cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. Please like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. So from all of us here, wherever you're listening to, we hope that you're having a great day, and may the force be with you always. Bye-bye.